On tonight's episode of SuperNaturalSyndicate.com, has the Illuminati invaded our school systems?
I'm getting a psychic vision. A vision of a fraud psychic?
An angry goat man's revenge.
Ghostly vandals caught on tape.
And all this and more on tonight's episode of SuperNaturalSyndicate.com. Stay tuned. Hello, listeners. I'm your host, Zubs.
And I'm your host, Crypto. And tonight, I want to kind of bring something to our audience. If you've been on our website, you may have seen a video that's been on there from YouTube, Ghostly Vandals, basically just destroy a hotel room. And I would like for us to speak about that tonight. This was sometime last year. There was a report that there was some noises, some scratchings, all kinds of yelling. You can watch the video on our site. You can actually hear screams in the background. And this is very, very interesting, and it is very, very creepy and eerie.
Let me set the scene. Let me set the scene real quick. All right, what's going on is security cam footage. It shows a security officer standing outside of a hotel room, and you can hear faint screaming, and he's visibly shaken, and he's speaking to someone over his radio, and they're saying, we're going to call the cops, and he's going to burst. He decides he's going to, unlock the door, and he's going to burst in there. Well, what happens when he bursts in there, Crypto?
Well, what happens is he walks in there, and I imagine he craps his pants because we all see on the video, we see a ghost. We see what appears to be a ghost. A tall, shadowy, foggy figure walks out of the door, goes down the hallway. Then the guy, the security guard, he exits, and he gets on the radio. He's like, "Look, I'm terrified. You need to get the cops down here. Furniture's overturned, showers running." There was
on the
something.
Wall. On the wall
on the
said
wall.
static line, but static was spelt with an X.
Yeah, and I looked that up, and that's like a band or something like that. So I don't know what's up with that.
So, okay. So is this a ghost of like a roadie or something?
I don't know. It might be. He might be a fan. I've never heard of I've never listened to their music. I've heard of the band. But hey, you never know. And it was pretty neat.
Well, you know who we need to talk to about this? We need to talk to a psychic. How about Sylvia Brown?
Hey, let me tell you about that. Now, Sylvia Brown, if everyone on here has heard the news within the past week or so, back on the 6th, up in Cleveland, Ohio, there was these 3 or 4 girls that were in this house. It was kind of a dilapidated house. They were in there for like some 10 years. So getting into the psychic part of this, these people, one of the women that was held captive was an Amanda Berry. Back in 2004, the mother of Amanda Berry was told by a celebrity psychic. The celebrity psychic's named Sylvia Brown. She's renowned. She's a self-described spiritual teacher and psychic. She's made her career out of prophetic readings and lectures. And back in 2004, Luana Miller turned to Brown for help on an episode of the Montel Williams Show. She wanted to know what happened to her daughter, Amanda Berry, who disappeared at the age of 16 on April 21st, 2003. The psychic told the mother, Berry, that her daughter was dead. And here we find out on the 6th of this month, May, that's not the case. So what do you think, Zubs? Do you believe in psychics?
Well, I've never met one, and no one, so I don't have any reason to believe in them. There has never been any reported evidence that a psychic has solved a murder or told the future. They only claim to tell the future after, fulfill these prophecies after it's already happened. This is not the first time Sylvia Browne has been wrong on the Montel Williams show. There was a woman that came on to the show, and they never found her fiance's body. And Sylvia Browne said that's because his body is in water and they will never find him. And the woman says, well, my fiance was in the World Trade Center when 9/11 happened. So
he was in the water. That's what she said. Sylvia
Browne said he's in water, but in actuality, he was in the World Trade Center when it was attacked on 9/11, and they never recovered his body. Now, in another instance, is there's these two parents that came onto the show, and they were audience members, and they'll take questions from the audience, and they asked her what happened to their daughter. Their daughter just died, and they don't know what happened. And Sylvia Browne says, well, she was shot in the chest.
Yeah.
And they said, no, she just walked into the living room and fell over dead. We don't know what caused it.
And then she goes, no, she fell into a bullet.
Yeah, no, I mean, she didn't say that. I mean, it's a tragedy for the parents, of
right,
course.
It is. It's a sad story. And don't get me wrong, we're not talking bad about Miss Brown or her abilities. We're just bringing these things. Right. We can't say or one way or the other. We have our own opinions, but I'm reading this right off of a news website, so don't take us as haters.
So, anyways, going from there, speaking of psychics and things like that, apparently over in southern Sacramento, California, a girl in a 5th and 6th grade shared classroom in an elementary school started screaming that she was part of the Illuminati and that she was going to sell her soul to the devil and kill everybody. Frightened a bunch of students. The school, though, didn't contact the parents until 6:30 that night. Not while it happened, not right after it happened. Now, it says the girl was writing 666 upon the bathroom walls. She took a knife and she tried to cut herself, offering blood to Satan or something like that.
Yeah.
She basically caused a big scene. Now, the teachers say that she was doing it for attention, which is, my opinion, most likely true. But the big thing that they're making a deal about is that she drew a symbol that is supposed to be part of the Illuminati on her desk.
Was that the all-seeing eye? I think that's what...
She drew the pyramid with the all-seeing eye over it, like the one you see on the back of the dollar bill.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what a lot of people might associate on the back of the $1 bill. What's your opinion on the whole Illuminati all-seeing eye aspect?
Well, the all-seeing eye, a lot of people will... the all-seeing eye and the pyramid and all that, a lot of people will associate that with Freemasonry.
Okay.
But actually, it's not a Freemason symbol. It's used in Freemasonry just because of the dollar bill, and they liked it. The all-seeing eye has been used for many of years through multiple cultures. And the eye is actually a representation of God without actually drawing God. He's the all-seeing eye. It's God. Now, the words that appear on the dollar bill, and I'm sorry, my Latin isn't the best, but annuit coptis, that actually means God has favored our undertaking, because many of the founding fathers, they believed that, this founding of America was God's will.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Novus Ordo Seclorum, which a lot of people says New World Order, actually it's not. What it means is New Order of the Ages, which is basically saying, hey, we're starting our new government. So God has favored our undertaking in this, new order of the ages. It's basically saying hey, we're new here. Now, the pyramid is supposed to be an unfinished body of work, which America, when it was first starting, it was unfinished, and it was building up, and then the triangle with the eye in it is the all-seeing eye, and it completes the pyramid because we cannot be completed without God's will or whatever. It's not Illuminati. It's not like representing Satan or a portal to hell or whatever.
So basically, what we're trying to get at, everybody, is this little sixth grader probably didn't know all of this.
No, in actuality, it's probably just sixth graders seeking attention.
Yes, that's my opinion. That's my take on it. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. So it's one of them stories. It's sad. It's tragic. I think the school should have notified the parents right away. I mean, the kid. If you take all of the paranormal elements out of it, the kid had a weapon. It was a pair of scissors, and was lashing out against another student. That's wrong. But if you put, they put the whole 666 in there, and the Illuminati does kind of add a unique twist. Where does this come from? Where did this kid get this? I mean. Yeah, probably on the television.
Probably on a
maybe
Discovery Channel, History Channel,
where they're
conspiracy theory show.
Yeah. So it's just one of those crazy things, and this goes out to all the listeners that have kids. You're obviously listening to us because we're a paranormal news and media show. But keep reality in reality. Don't let your kids have wild and crazy imaginations. Their brains are just firing and they're going. So keep an eye on that.
And speaking of History Channels and Discovery Channel shows, recently we came across one where they talked about a story that's local to you, Crypto. It's called the Goat Man of Pope Lick.
Yeah, that's right up my alley. Down in a little town outside of Louisville called J-Town, and Taylorsville is where this takes place.
Now, there's multiple versions of the story. I'm going to read one story here that was posted on a website, and it says it's a story about a hermit. It says, no one really knows the history of the hermit. Only that if you got too close to his shack in the woods, he would come out screaming and flailing and invoking the devil to keep people away. People being inherently cruel, many teenagers would sneak up to his shack at night and terrorize the man. Until one day, a couple of kids who had been out drinking, supposedly, found the old man dead in his shack. Rumor has it that there were dismembered goats strewn around the room, and it smelled as though many animals had died there. Not much is known about where they buried him, though many believe he is buried on the same site as his shack because he had no family or friends to place him in hollowed ground. Not long after reports of strange sounds and lights coming from the shack got people interested in checking that place out again, and kids began disappearing. Local residents claimed that they would be awoken in the middle of the night by the sounds of screams echoing up the wooden valley. After searching the woods and coming up with nothing, family of one of the missing boys decided to check out the shack beneath the trestle. They found the boy about 100 yards away, nailed high up in a tree with a railroad spike. His body was disemboweled, his eyes were removed, and though he had been missing for several days, he looked as though he had only recently been butchered. His father and brother, burning with rage, swore revenge. For several nights after discovering the boy's body, they searched the woods around Pope Lick for signs of his murder. After hours of futility, they finally spot a small man a few yards from the trestle. They approach cautiously, and just as they are about to reach him, he turns and glares at them. Laughter so evil it seems to curse the air around it, peals like thunder around them. And though every fiber in their being tells them to run, they are rooted to the spot. The laughter stops, and the air goes stale around them. The man holds his gaze upon them, and they realize who he is. The goat man, the son manages to stammer out, and the words appear to hurt the creature. His gaze weakens on the boy, and the boy turns and runs. He realizes almost instantly that they were being led across the trestle above the goat man's shack. And as he turns to yell for his father, he sees the two of them standing in the middle of the trestle, and then he hears it. What sounds like the scream of 1,000 tortured souls coming from further down the track. He blacks out. He feels like he's falling, and he wakes up in the hospital the next day. Though he asks for his father, no one will speak of him in front of the boy, not even his mother. A week goes by, and the police finally come and question the boy. After telling him his story, the police leave. But a day later, they return and question the boy about his father again. I don't understand why you keep asking me about my father, he says. I told you I saw him get hit by a train. That's impossible, son, replies one of the detectives. We found you on the ground about 20 feet from where you and your father found your brother. He looks uneasy at one of his fellow officers and continues. Your father was nailed to the same tree, at the exact same place your brother was, in the exact same condition we found your brother in. We just need to know one thing. How'd you get him up there? So that's one of the stories of the Goat Man of Pope Lick.
Yeah, and some of the locals around here in the Louisville area, have told me that this area, I mean, this bridge, this trestle, if you can picture, it's about 100 foot off the ground. It's about a 770-foot long trestle. And we say trestle because it has no other walkway or drive through next to it. It's just the wood and the rails, and that's it.
And he's supposed to, and like most accounts of the story, that one says he's an old man, like an older hermit. But most people says he's an actual goat man, like a human goat hybrid, or like a satyr or something like that.
Yeah, and that's the story that I'm getting from a lot of locals. I've asked them, this is some local folklore, urban legend stuff. They say he's somewhat psychic. He'll lure you to the trestle. When a train comes, you have no choice but to get hit or jump. Either way, doesn't end up good for the person. And in fact, the Taylorsville area, the police that patrol that area, I've heard, this is hearsay, I haven't found records on it, but the local police and Norfolk Southern Railroad have cordoned off this area so vehicles cannot drive close to it. You actually have to get out and walk around it, but they say no trespassing. Officials were really upset. There was a film made back in 1988. It was just a 16-minute film, talked about the legend of the Pope Lick monster, and the railroad officials were upset. They thought it would encourage teenagers to visit the trestle. They found one scene in particularly dangerously misleading. In the scene, the main character, a high school student, narrowly escapes an approaching train by hanging suspended from the side of the trestle. In reality, this would be quite impossible because there's few people that would have the strength to hang there for 5 to 7 minutes. The time it takes for a train to clear the 772-foot trestle. The vibrations from the train would shake the guy off anyways.
Right.
So I mean, they don't want people to get hurt.
Well, they do have an 8-foot tall fence around the entire area too.
Yeah, exactly.
The first report of this was back in the 1940s, and my opinion, I don't know if this was a story to keep kids away from it, but instead it's ended up attracting people to it. They say, like, the reason why these kids or these people are climbing up on the trestle and walking the trestle is because the Pope Lick monster, or the Goat Man, is using some type of psychic ability to lure the kids up there to, like, mimic voices or something like that.
Yeah, it's quite an odd urban legend if you think about it.
I can. It's an odd thing. My opinion, it could be stupid kids doing stupid things. I mean, I know I did stuff that was pretty stupid. I could have got killed. But I don't know. Maybe there is something to this. I just don't see. If you're a goat man, that also it says he carries around a blood-covered axe. If you're a satyr carrying an axe, why do you lure them to get hit by a train? Wouldn't you just hit them with the axe?
Yeah, I would. I mean, if I was a satyr with an axe. But, I mean, it's an odd place. You know, it's hard to tell where these things start out as.
Right. Well, there was a few different origin stories for him, too. One of them says that it was a circus freak train that crashed and he escaped and vowed to get revenge for people mistreating him.
Yeah.
Another one, well, you heard in the story, was he was some type of satanic worshipping hermit. Another version says that he was some farmer had a casual encounter with a goat, and the goat man is the offspring. Either way, we don't. There's not a whole lot of evidence for this besides the trestles being there and a big fence and the stories. Yeah. But that's usually how urban legends go.
Yeah, but there has been a number of deaths out in that area.
Yeah,
and typically when things like that occur, people will talk, and the power of suggestion is pretty great.
Yeah. Well, with all that out of the way, why don't we give them a hint for the next upcoming episode?
Well, what does Egypt's pyramids, the Bermuda Triangle, and Superman's Fortress of Solitude have in common? Find out in our next episode of SuperNaturalSyndicate.com.